Good evening. Thanks for joining us for this backpack safety webinar. My name is Tammy Sander, Director of Communications for the Hamilton County Health Department. Tonight, I am joined by an orthopedic surgeon from Riverview Health who will provide some tips and tricks to lightening our kids' loads on the way to and from school. Tonight's webinar is the 8th in a series of monthly webinars geared toward caregivers and parents with regards to children's health. We're hosting an array of topics from the importance of lead testing to teen dating violence, as well as tips to talking to your kids about vaping and HPV vaccines. These webinars are part of a larger effort to reach out, as I said, to parents, caregivers, educators, so they can make more informed decisions about the health and well-being of their kiddos. We'll feature a full list of those webinar topics at the end of this session. Let me start, however, by introducing tonight's subject expert. Dr. Kyle Stevenson is a fellowship-trained sports medicine orthopedic surgeon at Riverview Health. He specializes in sports injuries, arthroscopic surgery of shoulder and knee joints, cartilage restoration, and fracture care. He also performs shoulder and knee replacement surgery, and an interesting aside, he previously worked as the team doctor for the Boston Celtics. Welcome and thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Tonight, we're going to cover the gamut of topics related to backpack safety, starting with the importance of good backpack and how to know when it's too heavy for your kiddo. We're going to talk about how to find a backpack that fits them properly, the correct way to wear a backpack, and then we're going to offer some tips on how to properly pack that backpack to help evenly distribute the load. Kyle, let's start by answering the most obvious question, but why is backpack safety so important? What could really even happen to our kids if they're carrying too much weight to and from school?
Yeah, that's a great question. So backpack safety, I feel like kids backpacks are getting heavier as time goes on, and the books are extremely heavy. And so the big thing that we want to prevent is from kids having injuries. That's the biggest thing from my standpoint as an orthopedic surgeon. We see kids of all ages with injuries, and so we want to make sure that they're not hurting themselves, their back, their shoulders, their neck, and we want to prevent injuries. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and those kind of injuries that you were talking about, you were suggesting back, neck, shoulder pain.
You got it. Yep, back, neck, shoulder pain. Those are the big ones. Yeah, and I looked into scoliosis because I never really associated heavy backpacks with scoliosis, and I did find that there's not really an association. It's not going to cause scoliosis, but the big thing is we just want to make sure that it's not causing general back pain, general shoulder and neck pain, and it's not going to be something that's going to continue to linger for these kiddos.
So how do we know when it's too heavy?
Great question. When they flop on their back like that kid on the picture. Yeah, so the American Academy of Pediatrics, they state that the backpack should not be any more than 5 to 10% of a child's body weight. There are some articles I pulled up that mention maybe up to 15%, but the American Academy of Pediatrics is pretty clear on this. No more than 10% of of a child's body weight. So that's a good rule of thumb. So for example, as the slide shows, if your kid weighs 50 pounds, then 10% of that is 5 pounds. Make sure the backpack is no more than 5 pounds. Easy to check it on your own scale at home. But this is important for the kiddos. And it's easy, as we'll continue to discuss, it's easy how these backpacks creep up to that level.
It's amazing. Yeah, we were just talking before this, and out of curiosity, I decided to weigh my own daughter's backpack this afternoon. 16 pounds. She's a sophomore and probably doesn't even weigh 100 pounds herself, so clearly overweight, which is surprising too, because I think we all assume that the kids are just working on computers these days, but they're clearly stuffing those backpacks with other things. So what are some of the warning signs we're looking for that maybe it's just a little too heavy for them?
Yep. So obviously, complaining of neck, back pain, shoulder pain. If you see obvious redness on your child's shoulders or upper back, if you see that they have changes in their posture, truly a big deal if they're having some numbness or tingling in their arms or legs because of a heavy backpack. If they get some headaches or fatigue, that could be a multitude of things, but a simple one to rule out is a heavy backpack, of course. And then if you see your child having trouble lifting their backpack, then obviously that means it's too heavy. So those are some of the more obvious signs. You can imagine that if they're wearing this 180 days on the year and it's heavy every single day, then that adds up.
And we're talking obviously about prevention, but is there a point at which someone should be concerned enough to pick up the phone and maybe call your office or at least their pediatrician?
hmm Yeah, definitely. If a kiddo is having complaints, and it's more than just a few days, and you give them some ibuprofen or Tylenol, and that doesn't really help the pain, and it's something that's persistent, then definitely at least call your pediatrician. And if this is something that's something that needs to be seen by an orthopedic surgeon, then by all means call our office, and we can get your kiddo in.
All right, so here's the big question. It's back to school time. There's so many backpacks to choose from, and the kids obviously want what they want, but how do we help direct them so we do fit over fashion, shall we say?
I love that. I love that. Yeah, nowadays, especially with school uniforms and things like that, right? Like you got to stand out. The only way you can stand out is a backpack and shoes. So let's talk about proper backpack fit. So there's multiple things you can look at, but you don't want it to be any wider than your child's torso. You want it to sit just above the child's waist, so preferably 2 inches above the hip, and definitely not more than 4 inches below the waist. Um, yeah, we just bought our kid's backpack for the first time. He's 3.5, so those are things that we looked at to make sure. And luckily, at 3.5, it's pretty darn light.
You're right.
So features of a good backpack as we move on. You want wide padded shoulder straps, so make it nice and comfortable and well padded. It helps if they have a strap that goes around the waist or the chest. That just adds more support. And then definitely backpacks with multiple compartments will help as well, because we'll talk about it. But you want to put the heavy stuff in the backpack first, and you want to put that more centrally located and close to the body. And then you can compartmentalize after that.
Yeah, you mentioned things like the padded straps that go around the chest, the waist. Seems silly to ask, but is there a wrong way to wear a backpack?
The cool hip way to do it is on one shoulder, kind of leaning over.
Yeah.
Yes, we've all done it, but that's the wrong way to do it. And so you want to make sure that the kids got the both straps on the shoulders, tighten the backpack nice and snug to the back so it's close to the body. You want your kids' posture upright. And so, yeah, stand up straight. That's the other thing. You want to make sure it's not so heavy that your kid's leaning over to carry that thing.
All right. What about packing it?
Yep. The one thing we just talked about. So you want it to have compartments so that you can put the heaviest items in first, and you put those in the bottom and center of the backpack just to put all the weight there close to the body. You want to distribute the rest of the stuff in multiple compartments around that, and then the other thing is just removing extra items or supplies. And if it really becomes an issue, I don't think it's a problem to talk to the teacher and say, hey, does he really need, or he or she really need to, bring this home? Can something like this stay at school at all times so that we're not constantly bringing it back and forth?
Right. And I know having a high schooler myself, they have the option to have lockers, but they don't all use them. And they're notorious for just putting everything in the backpack because they don't want to have to take it. They'll have a blue day and a gold day where they have different subject matters, but they don't want to go to the effort to take out the gold day stuff on a blue day, and they just take it all. So I would say too, if you've got high schoolers that are on a block schedule like that, that if you can encourage them to take out the items they don't need, that would be fantastic.
Absolutely. If they'll listen to you, right?
Right.
So yeah, other ways to lighten the load, as you just talked about, it's almost like what slides are coming.
Right.
Encourage the kiddos to use their lockers. And it seems like nowadays it's high school for sure, but even middle school and grade school, they have lockers, right? In a
Yeah.
lot of these schools. So that's a great way to do it. And then most kids have sports right after school, and so they have all that stuff as well. So put that in that sports gear in a different bag or in a separate bag, and carry that when you need it. But don't try to carry both or put it all in the same bag. And then the one last thing that we never had in high school, and I didn't feel like I was that old, but it's genius, the rolling backpack, similar to luggage. These kiddos really don't need to carry anything. They can just roll it along with them. And I would say the downfall of that is it's easy to overpack that as well. So, there are times when you're going up and down stairs, you got to be really careful of when you have to pick that up. So I would say that's the one downfall of the rolling backpack.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that, but yeah, up and down the bus steps. All
Yep.
right, let's open it up for questions. I don't know if you see anything in the chat. I'll let you check that. Feel free, if you are watching, to place any questions that you might have in the comments box. We'll take a look at those and see if we can't get them answered. And while we check on those questions, I'll offer up these additional resources. Of course, here's the contact information for Riverview Health. Kyle, is there a way, if someone wanted to get in touch with you directly, that would be easier than going through this number, or is an extension or something they could use if they wanted to get to your office?
That is the easiest way to get to us. Actually, let me see. Now, I think I have an easier one. Let me just pull it up really quick. I'm sorry.
That's fine. While you do that, Kyle also recommends the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, and then also the National Safety Council. All great resources for backpack safety and ways to lighten that load for your kiddos.
Yep. So I believe, yes. Okay. All right. So my direct office number would be 317-770-3777. Again, 317-770-3777. A lot of sevens in there.
That's a lot of something. Well, that makes it easy to remember, though.
Easy. And you can go on the riverview.org website and go to find a doctor and type in my name. And that's another easy way to find me. There's a video, so you can learn more about me if you want. And if you just come see me, I will tell you anything you want to know.
That's awesome. Well, we also wanted to bring up this slide about our upcoming webinars. It's hard to believe that we only have 4 of them left. It feels like just yesterday we started these. But Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month is September. So we'll be doing a special webinar with Prevail about teen dating violence. We'll take a look at what it looks like, because it's not always physical. More often than not, it's emotional and online violence. So as a parent, how do you recognize that? How do you best talk to your teens about that? We'll broach that topic in September. And then October, we're talking about the HPV vaccine, a relatively new vaccine that many of us weren't capable of getting back in the day, but is actually provides cancer prevention. November, we're going to talk about how to tell if your kid's vaping. There are some real telltale signs that you might be missing, because there are some really great deceptive ways for kids to hide this sort of thing. And then in December, we're going to be talking about lead testing in kids. If you want to register for any of these webinars, you can do so by going to the Hamilton County Health Department's website and clicking on their Health Education tab. Any questions? Are you seeing anything?
Let's see. I'm not, honestly.
You were just that good.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, if there are any other questions, he gave you his number. Happy to answer. You can call the health department as well. But we thank you all for joining. We appreciate you taking the time to listen and learn. And if you'd like to share this information, perhaps with friends or family who weren't able to join us tonight, we will take a recording of this webinar and share it on our social media sites tomorrow morning. Again, Doctor, thank you so much for taking your time to be with us and educate us on backpack safety. And yeah, have a wonderful evening.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Tammy.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.